I think obviously before I even start about this weekend, just impressed and proud of this group and what they accomplished this year, especially with graduating as much talent as we did last year, um, and with having, 8 newcomers, 15 underclassmen. It's just been a great run. And this year, going into super regionals this past weekend, um, and going in against the number one team who I don't know how many teams have dominated the year like they have. Um, but just proud of them. I think we maybe didn't start off the way we normally play, but I loved our fight because typically teams that play Oklahoma in their second game don't stay in the game 7 innings, don't play better, and I believe we did. And so, we have that under our belt now, and having that experience, we're going to get just a 1% better each day to be prepared for that moment next year. So.
For the returners, what was the message to them, and what do you hope they gain from that experience?
Yeah, well, I tried to make sure to keep it in this year. And to really recognize and just make sure that we recognize our seniors, make sure that we kept this year in this year. I did take a moment to just meet with the returners, and that was to make sure that we are still going to celebrate the seniors in some way. We've done a senior day and we've had a senior banquet, but I don't know. I'm not ready for it to be over. I think that we need to, celebrate them even more, and we celebrate this group. But I just explained to the returners that last year when we got back from Tallahassee, um, our women were in the weight room 2 days later, and they were training and doing their thing, um, and they had a vision of what they wanted this following year to look like. And I said, well, that doesn't mean that we're changing anything. We're going to stick to our blue collar approach. And so I think they need to take at least a week off. There are some that will, and there's some that won't. And then it's time to get back after it, and that means coaches hitting up the recruiting. That means coaches working up a plan of what we need to work on to be prepared for. And for the athletes, we're going to meet with them and really hear from them what they think that we also need, because that's why this thing goes is it's a full inclusion of coach, athlete, staff, you name it.
Coach, going into that first game, as the team entered the field, do you feel they were a little awed by the moment? Was the moment a little big for them, and that they needed to settle into the game?
I don't know if the moment was too big for them. I think that maybe they just didn't really take to heart exactly some of the things that we talked about. We said the ball's going to be hit often in play. The ball's going to be hit hard often in play. And, we've been pretty spoiled by our pitching staff. We haven't had to defend balls put in play as much as maybe Oklahoma does, and they do it off of any staff. And even with the pitchers, talking about like it's hard to get inside on them, but they are susceptible to it. It's just people miss, and when they miss, they take advantage of it. And so it was just a learning curve that we had to obviously make on the road in a short period of time. And I think you saw us dial down and get better in those last innings. And especially like Gianna throwing 2 innings shutout, 2 shutout innings, just shows that, give us a little bit more time, we'd be right in there. So, and it's tough because our defense had all of that pressure because our offense wasn't doing what we normally do. I think, we I think we made it bigger than it needed to be offensively. I think game 3, we would have more of an aggressive approach, and that takes some it takes just like some pressure off of your defense to have longer offensive innings, to put some runs across, and it also puts the other team, the opponent, kind of slowing them down a bit. So I think just all of those things combined were very new to us.
Coach, what more can you say about Kama Woodall and Gianna Mancha, and how difficult will it be to fill the gap left by them next season?
Very difficult. We have our pitching staff now. We have our pitchers coming in, but I'm definitely going to hit the portal as well. To replace those two, I think I wouldn't say impossible, but gosh darn difficult. And I don't just mean from their athleticism and their ability on the field. They're just their ability to lead, who they are as human beings, their presence in the bullpen and around, and like their competitiveness, and just all of their experience. And I'm not going to say all of the experience was great experiences. They've had other things that they had gone through to get them to this point, to get them as hungry as they were. And so, to be able to write that up again is going to be pretty difficult. But again, not impossible. I think people are all worried and concerned about us when we graduated Aaliyah White. And I think I said somewhat of the same thing, like you can't replace somebody, but we can do something a little different. And, some of the best pitching staffs are sitting at home going to watch the World Series right now. And so it's not just your pitching staff, it's their ability to execute at the end of the year and have a team around them. And so that's what we're going to focus on.
Coach, congratulations on a fantastic season. I know there's a lot of memories and thoughts going through your head about Team 21, but when it's all said and done, what do you think will be your favorite memory when you look on this past year's team?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, thank you first off. And then I'm going to say, I don't know if this is my favorite, so I'm not answering your question, but the one that stands out most to me is our very first fall game against Florida, when we didn't hit a cut and relay. And like, that's what we hone in on is, our relays and destinations are super important to me. We airmailed like a bunch of balls. Our infield didn't field a ground ball for the first like couple plays. And, after the first 5 innings, we did hit the 2-run bomb and got ahead there. But after the first 5 innings, I look at our staff and I said, we got a lot of work to do. And so I think that that's just important because, you get to write your own story. And like this World Series is definitely showing that. You have teams in there that people are like, why are they in postseason? Well, clearly they should be in postseason because they're going to the World Series. And so it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And I think that that's a great story to tell our program as well of, we had people that weren't starting in the game that were leading off in the final game at Super Regionals against the number 1 team. And you have people that, were playing different positions. And so it's definitely not how you start. It's where you finish, and it's the process of getting there. So, I mean, talking to Lala Macario and, at Florida in our first fall game, and I look in her eyes and I'm like, hey, what's going on? She said, there's a lot of people here. She didn't have that feeling at Oklahoma. She was used to it. So just going through that process and that learning process with them and growing, it's so fun. And it's so fun to experience because me as a player is very far removed, right? And so, and even as a coach in those moments, like been there, done that. And so you forget how impactful those times are. And I just love that this group reminded us a lot of the importance of playing, why we play, why it's such a big time thing, but also keeping small moments and staying in the moment. So it was fun to be around.
Speak to Jada. Obviously hit the home run on Saturday, which I thought was kind of fitting that, the last run would be with her. 15 homers, 75 RBIs. I looked it up. I mean, it's her and Stephanie Best have had the two greatest offensive seasons in the program's history. Speak to her growth from January when she got invited to Team USA to the president, how she grew so big to what she became.
Yeah, I'm going to go even further back, Elo. She came in here as a defensive player. And I mean, I remember her saying, if you could make the USA team just on defense, like she's like, I think I'd be there. Right. And then just really worked hard to be that two-way offensive, defensive, just impact on in our program. But that January and, her getting invited, and I said, well, here you go. You said it, but now you're here as not just a defensive player trying out for the team. Just being around all of those athletes, all the best athletes in the program or in our nation. And quite a few of them we were just on the field with last weekend. And she blended in. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, she didn't stand out like someone saying, what is this person doing here? She blended in and looked the part, from a physical standpoint, from a strength standpoint, ability standpoint. I mean, all her 5 tools are a huge fit. And I think she's going to continue to be in that mode. And so seeing that, I think she realized, wait a minute, okay, I'm not the best in this group here, but I'm not far from it. And so I think she really turned it on in that way, but that it gave her that confidence that she can swing big, and do big things. And it doesn't hurt. And I said this before too, with the Oklahoma and Alo, like she's got great players around her, and Jada does too. And that leads to your success. Like, can't be a one woman show in this game. So,
Coach, considering just how good Oklahoma is, are you able to take some of those cliched moral victories out of this?
yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're going to definitely learn is their composure and presence in the box. It's something we've talked about. And like, I know you say the moral victories and all of that, but I think it was just like awesome to be able to learn and see what the impact of their approach has on a defense, because it's what we've talked about, but until you see it and experience it, you don't know. So I'll give you an example. Like, you'll see us do different things in the box. Like, we'll pepper slap, we'll walk through things, we'll go into kind of like a no stride. And until people did it in the game and succeeded, there wasn't a ton of buy-in when we would practice it. And then someone comes in and does it and hits a home run. They're like, "Ooh, I want to try that," and so in order for us to like really truly see, like, okay, that is, because some of the things I'm saying, like, well, let's drive this down pitch off the wall. That low out pitch, coach, that's impossible. Well, they just saw it happen. So now it's not impossible. They're great in their competitive spirit. Like, they want to be the best as well. And so I think it's cool that we got to see that and experience it. Does it still hurt that our season's over? Yeah. Like I said, like hugging all the seniors, and telling them thank you. And it was just like, I'm getting choked up a little bit now. And then no senior is more important than the other, but obviously, like, just having time with someone and knowing Gigi for as long as I did. And she's kind of like, she gives me tough love, but she held on tight on that hug. And I was like, wow, she's feeling it too. And we both didn't want to let go. And so, that those are the moral victories, I would say, is, just give me a second. Sorry. Those are the moral victories of just them buying in and loving this program, right? And this team. And yeah, we want to win on the field, and I wanted to compete even harder and better. And I think that we are better than some of the things that we did on the field. But to see how much this group loves this program, this game, and each other, I feel like I won the World Series.
Coach, we obviously talk so much about the seniors, you get emotional talking about them, understandably, but you have a lot of sophomores and freshmen that did some pretty big things this past season. And what do you like about the future of your roster and the team you're building?
Well, I would say more than like it. And that's obviously been the plan is, being able to bring in that new young uh, just strength and ability of what we have. We're going to be strong. We're going to be fast. Like we get a little bit better every year. And so I'm super excited about that. And again, the question is, and my message to our staff was, we got to work to find just a few more, I guess, pieces to our puzzle. We're just missing a few things. We're just like one or two aspects off, or one or two players off of really pushing this thing in the direction that we want it to go.
Coach, you talk about, needing maybe one or two more players. You mentioned transfer portal. We've seen how that's become really wild in some of the other sports where maybe they didn't always have immediate eligibility. Are you seeing some changes there? Is transfer portal getting more wild? And what kind of interest do you think players will have in UCF in that process?
Well, I'll tell you that a lot of high profile athletes out there reached out to us while we were still playing, said, I want to be a part of what you're doing. And I think that just speaks to like our team is recruiting for us. They said, I want to have fun. I want to compete at the highest level, but I want to have fun doing it. And you guys look like you're having so much fun. And I mean, I can't do that by myself. So that's the team doing that. But it being able to be one of the last 16 teams playing, I mean, the part of our recruiting has already been done, but that's our job. We're here to obviously develop the athletes that we have, but get the best to come in and play and represent the city of Orlando, the school UCF. And so I think that we're in a really good spot with that right now, especially, people buying in, because there's a lot of people that we talked to last year that said, no, I want to go in a different direction. There's, better out there for me. And they were watching us playing. So, when you have a good vision and you're okay doing something a little different and you want to push something a little bit further, then UCF is the place for you to check it out. So yeah.
Speak to the barriers that this team kind of accomplished. I mean, not winning the regular season title, a tournament title, but hosting for the first time, really gravitating to community. 22nd in the country in attendance. Talking to some people at ESPN, the perspective is that this will be the Oklahoma games will be the most watched non-UCF football game in Orlando this year for any UCF sporting event. Just speak to how this team really grabbed the community, the city by storm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think like you're kind of, you get locked into just being in the inner circle and being about the program. And then all of a sudden you have all these people reaching out and, saying these awesome things on Twitter and sending you messages and notes. And it's really cool to see how they've rallied around this group of 22 women. And just hearing how many people were watching and just they were just so proud of them. And I mean, we had people at the send-off, we had some young future athletes come up to a few of our a few of our players and say, this is my star player. And so it's just cool to see all of that come about. But this group being able to accomplish what they did, they got picked third. They got the conference tournament, hosting the conference tournament stripped from them. I think that we've gone through every travel issue you could ever go through. And I'm not inviting any more, so knock on wood. They've just done their grit and their determination and their resilience is like, I mean, it's gives me chills thinking about it, that our women can do what they've done. And it wasn't easy. We had to go finish and win a regular season in Wichita, and Wichita's fighting for the same thing. And those fans, like people talk about the Oklahoma fans, we were all talking about it in Oklahoma. As we've already experienced this, guys. Wichita State was a lot like this. They were all over us and hanging on us, and we had less fans there than we did at Oklahoma. So to be able to do that and come back and bounce back after the first game loss in that series, like guts. Wow. Like that. I mean, it's just, again, writing the definition of what it is to be a part of UCF softball and what it takes to be a Knight. And then going to ECU and having to deal with weather delays and changing, game times and not really having that crowd in the stands. I mean, they just played, they got after it, and you had different heroes every day. I mean, I felt like every media session, I had someone different sitting next to me. And I was, again, like, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have this group. I'm blessed to have this staff. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answered your question, Elo, but pretty amazed by everything that we've accomplished. And 3.6 GPA, the amount of community service hours they've done. Like, we say how you do anything is how you do everything, and they like and love and enjoy winning. I know Shannon Doherty will tell you she hates losing, but she also enjoys winning quite a bit.
One of the themes you've talked about it is family. We see the presence of your family throughout the season. And then we cap off in Oklahoma with Maddie's brother Tanner being there. And that moment that goes viral, that unconditional love of him just giving her a hug after the game. Just how important is that for her, but also her teammates?
Yeah. Well, when you play for something that's bigger than yourself, it's always a reminder, and you never get to take a day off, and you know that. And Maddie is one of those people. I mean, but just to see, like, I think, I'm going to get choked up again because we had a freshman also, Ashley Griffin's mom, I think, tweeted something out just earlier today. And I remember her asking this of, all right, you can be as hard as you want on my daughter, but like, how much are you going to love her? And I showed her a picture of my kids, and I said, as much as I love these guys. And I mean, it's true. Like, I would love to say that it's all butterflies and, rainbows, but loving somebody as hard as we do in this group is like not easy. It's frustrating. Like, there's times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to set my kids over here and just leave them for a little bit, but it's just because you love them so much. And just to see that our women can take that love for their own families and bring it into this program is awesome. But the stories, like Maddie Bejarano's storyline is pretty incredible, because when I went to go watch her, I got this job. She was one of the first or second people that I got to watch and know, okay, she's committed. And she did not play very well. Popped up a squeeze, struck out, like, and she knew it. She was like, oh no, like, I'm not doing what I need to do. And we had to talk about that. And the interaction that I saw with her and her brother, it was after a game, super frustrated. She had an opportunity to win the game and didn't. And super frustrated, comes off frustrated. And he comes up to her and she pushes that away to make sure she acknowledges him and takes care of him and doesn't show him that frustration. And I was like, in that moment, I said, we're going to need that. Her ability to just push that away and show the face that needs to be shown, that's going to help her in some ways. And it absolutely did when we're down, 2-1 in the 7th inning with the last strike being ready to throw. And I look at her, and I said this before, normally I'll make her slap if she swings and misses, and I feel like she's not going to make the solid contact she normally makes. And I said, what do you want to do? And she said, swing away. And I was like, all right. She answered it so fast, and look at what happened. So, I mean, when you truly buy into those moments, I think they're absolutely going to pay you back. And I've learned as a coach that it's not just how hard they hit the ball, or how far they hit the ball, how hard they throw the ball. It's also their character and, you know, what they're doing off the field in those tough moments, how they're treating their families. Like, it's why we're here. It's why we exceeded our potential.
Coach, you talked earlier about how, you know, you were one of 16 softball teams still playing softball this past weekend. A lot of people are obviously watching. You talk from the recruiting perspective, makes your job a little bit easier. But, you know, other programs, other ADs are watching, those who need new softball coaches. So what do you think about, you know, when you think about your future at UCF, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking that. I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, I moved here across the country thinking, what the heck am I doing? I'm a West Coast girl. I never, you know, even being recruited as a player. Pat Murphy will tell you he tried to get me to Alabama, and I was like, no way am I going that far. So I pinch myself every day that we are here in Florida and we love it. And you know, I just, what we've done here and what we continue to do, like, that's kind of been in my blood. If you know where I came from, I played at Pacific. We had 4,000 students amongst 3 different campuses, and we were 1 game away from the World Series with our little team. And and I think we had maybe 14, 15 players on the team. Like, it was, you know, truly like, just I don't even know the words to say it, but the little guys just getting after it, right? So I love what I've built here. And, you know, my end goal as a coach is to get to the World Series. Do I think this team can do it? Heck yes. This program can do it? Yes. So yeah, we'll see. What, you know, I hope that we get to continue to keep building what we're doing here, because it's amazing and it's awesome. And I think, you know, getting attention obviously helps our program. So don't know how to answer that question. Didn't move across the country to move again, but I've said that before, and it bit me in the butt. So I guess you say never say never, but I love this group of women, and I recruited them to coach them. So
Let's talk about your immediate future. I know you're a part that we do know is you're going to be part of Team USA this summer. How is that going to work scheduling wise for you this summer? And are you and Coach Tim Walton have a lot of trash talking and bragging rights over the other U.S. staffers over both your teams going deep in the postseason?
oh gosh. I think the trash talking happens whether we're doing anything like fungo golf, racing on scooters. I mean, it does not matter. Competitive group, us 4, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. You know, it's gonna be interesting, and it's gonna be a little different because the staffs are different at each event, which I think is really cool. For Coach Tar and I will be kind of like the familiar faces at each event, but just to gain knowledge from so many people and have obviously different athletes too at each event is going to be a lot of fun. But we'll start off in Canada. I think we're going to start training in Seattle, and then go to the Canada Cup. And you know, excited for some young women to be a part of USA for the first time, and then obviously some vets to come in. And I'm excited to learn from them and give them, you know, the things that I know, and just keep dominating international softball. But you know, the World Games in Alabama, that's what we're, you know, building up for and building up to. And I call that staff the dream team, and the dream staff with Coach Tar at the helm, and you've got Tony Baldwin and Coach Walton. And I honestly feel like the freshmen in that group. And I'm not saying that like I feel like I'm like Ashley Griffin getting up to hit the home run against Michigan. So I'm not taking anything away from myself, but I love being able to sit back and observe and learn, and then like give my 2 cents when I can. So it's a lot of fun, and looking forward to it. And looking forward to my family being able to travel with me a little bit too.
Coach, you're always bragging on your players What's something that you accomplished this year? A move that you made that you're really proud of?
Well, people might think it was putting Savannah Adams into pinch hit. But I want to say it was after the first two Virginia Tech games. I was frustrated, and I was I felt like I was wound up a bit, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to control my emotions. Like, I didn't want to do that. Like, why? And I remember getting in my car and going talking to a few people. And sorry, Tony, if I put your name out there, but Tony Baldwin is one of my good friends. And I called him, and then I called Rob Miller, and there were tears because it was like, you want this so bad, and we're here at this moment facing one of the best pitching staffs in the nation, and I felt like we were kind of backing down, and I didn't like it. But I also felt like, gosh, why don't I feel successful? Our record's so good, we're doing so good. And so that day, right before that third game, when we were in our locker room, I just opened up to the team, and I showed them my tears, and I showed them my frustrations. And we talk about being vulnerable. Like, I'm not afraid to show you guys my emotions right now. I mean, I'm a human being. I'm a mom. I'm a coach as well. And I think doing that and them seeing, like, they felt relieved, and then seeing how they just played, and I didn't have to do much. I just got out of their way when I needed to. I think that was the biggest move, learning when I needed to kind of come and get in their ear and talk to them, and learning when I needed to just step back and let them do their thing. I think is one of my biggest things. And I think the little side conversations that I was able to have this year, having Whitney and Tyler and Kaya, just knowing where I come from, what I want, the expectations, I was able to step away from some of the roles and be able to have more time to have valuable conversations, in-game conversations with some of our athletes, just to see where they're at. And some of it was strategy, and some of it was, I don't know, I mean, getting to know your players. Like, when we were facing Georgina Korick at USF, when we were down 2-0, I went up to, I think it was Kennedy, Denali, Shannon, and Jada were all kind of leaning against the pole. And I was like, hey, guys, it was game one. I was like, it's okay. You got 2 more games. She's really good. She's really good. And it's okay. She's just better than us today. And I don't think that they liked that. Now, I didn't, I mean, I knew what I was doing. But sometimes you need that, and sometimes they just need a hug. And so I think that those were big coaching moments for me, and learning that whatever happens in the game, I just to make sure that I'm going to give them the best version of myself.